continue.
So yeah, like I said, I'm not an economist, and I really don't have the full picture. But like, if by some reason like them limiting these purchases is like actually protecting the economy, right? Because I could see there being some potential where like with such a sudden spike in support of this stock, right, causing crashes on other sides, right, could potentially harm the economy in some way, right? Because in a way, yes, the overall economy probably does rely on these people who are essentially professional stockbrokers, right? I could see where like putting a hold on the average person's stock activity would protect that, but the other side of it is like it still violates that American right
Right.
to be a member of or be a participant in like the free market,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the whole thing. It's a laissez-faire economy, trickle down capitalism, right? You're not supposed to
Yeah.
tamper with whatever the process is. Period. You know.
Yeah.
So I see the principle, right? Violating the principle there is an issue. However, if some economist or a group of economists is like this could literally crash the economy if we let this continue, then like yeah, I understand why they're putting that, but still, it's like we as the American people are choosing what to do. You know?
Well,
So,
it's
like, and then I doubt that a group of people buying AMC stock is going to crash the entire economy. You know what I mean?
Well, it's supposed to be like the biggest like power money shift ever.
Well,
like-
it should be. I mean,
Yeah, which is
Well, shouldn't it be?
absolutely wild to
Yeah.
me. Like we're taking on like they've lost over $19 billion. Like these stockbrokers.
Yeah, and they should. It's
Yeah.
people who think well, because I mean, it's in reality their day-to-day job, right? They're supposed to be day traders or brokers or whatever, right? Who are watching the stocks and making sells based on the money they're making, right?
Mhm.
They're looking for profits, right? So I mean, like, yeah, them thinking that they just have total control, complete access to these, you know, really high. They are essentially gambling, right? It's high risk stock trading, but like for them to have this attitude that they are the only ones who have access to it and that there's some sort of privilege in that, right? There's power in that. For sure, for the American people, for normal people to come together and say, fuck that, we're gonna take it, we're gonna stick it to you and say, you know what, you don't just have control of the economy.
Yeah.
That's very cool, right? There's very David Goliath kind of energy there, right?
The guy on Reddit who like started it,
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "This shit gonna be biblical." Like,
It's biblical, mate. You ever
Whoa.
watch Peaky Blinders? Dude, you should.
Is it good? A lot of people say it's good, but I just
I
never
like it.
gotten into
I
it.
like it a lot. I think it's on season 6 right now. Katie and I, we haven't finished it yet. We're like 3 episodes to the end of this previous season. But all the seasons prior are pretty damn good.
Really?
Yeah. Good. They're just cool characters. There's a couple parts where I'm like the English teacher in me, right? The literature guy who's like, come on, bro. But like, there's a lot of it where it's just like, if you want to watch some badasses do some gangster shit in like 1926 London, watch that shit, bro.
I'll probably
You know
watch
what I
it,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's gangster shit, drugs, guns, fights, all sorts of shit. That's pretty cool. But I only say that because you said it's gonna be biblical, and there's a Jewish gangster in that who says some funny shit about like it's fucking biblical, man. You know, it's funny.
I'm gonna grab actually another water just in
Alright.
case before we start.
Yeah, man.
So door open.
Yeah, for YouTube viewers who are watching this in post, or anybody who watches it live and for some reason watches this in post, we try to open up about 10 minutes early just to get some general chat, hang out a little bit before we kind of get into the details of today. So
Yeah, no webcam, baby.
feel free to come in a little early and just listen to us talk shit and not really worry about trying to sound like we know something.
Even though we actually don't know anything. I'm gonna try not to click end stream this time.
Yeah,
When I need to take that picture down.
maybe I'll do it this time. We'll just go in there, click the little
Yeah.
button.
Nah, dude. Hopefully the AMC stock goes up. Let's hope.
Yeah, dude.
Fucking buy some tables and chairs. No, dude. I got my little pen holder up there. I'm very excited about having here.
Yeah, just some organization or what?
Yeah, dude. Like my
Did you get
pens-
that today?
No, I bought it for work, and then I took it home and used it for my work, I guess.
Oh, so that's like from your desk at
Yeah.
your other job. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, fuck you guys. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are actually really cool to me. No, other than that, man, I've literally been like watching it like for the past like 3 days. Jackson Vaughn has 52 shares in AMC right now.
Jesus.
Yeah. So he's probably up good right now. Or actually, no. Because I'm down $18. And then I bought Nokia.
Yeah.
Nokia is garbage. I bought it at $6. It's at $4.50 right now.
I thought it was supposed to be GameStop going crazy, then AMC, and then BlackBerry was on watch too.
BlackBerry, yeah. I think we gotta take it one at a time to win. That's what.
Yeah.
Everybody.
You can't do it all at once.
No,
Why
because
can't you do
you
it all
gotta
at once?
focus all your efforts into one, or else you won't win.
Okay, understood. Battle at a time.
Exactly.
Got it.
So like once GameStop goes down, everyone from GameStop's gonna hop on the AMC grind, and we're shooting up to 1,000, baby. We're putting a movie theater on Mars.
Oh yeah, you and Elon Musk taking these homies to Mars. God, I wish I was Elon Musk. Actually, I don't. Elon Musk is cool, but like, I don't know if I want to live that life.
I don't know.
He
Like,
works nonstop, bro.
well, me and Cole came over today, and we were talking about the whole stock market stuff, and he was like, he tweeted about Doge or whatever,
Yeah.
and he was like, Tesla's going down. Like, I wonder where that Elon's gonna be pissed. I was like, no, Elon doesn't give a fuck about Tesla, dude. He just does that shit for fun. Like, he just cares about SpaceX.
Well, yeah, I think at this point, I don't even think he's on the board for Tesla anymore.
He's not.
No, because after the Joe
Joe
Rogan
Rogan
thing,
shit,
he got
yeah.
kicked. He got the Steve Jobs treatment, right? I think he's probably still like involved in the politics of Tesla, right? Like, I mean, as far as like he's on payroll, I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he makes any like decisions with Tesla or anything. So yeah, like Tesla, he knows it's successful. Tesla's gonna be around. Tesla's leading everything, right?
That's why we gotta hop in the Tesla grind.
Yeah. And yeah, for sure, SpaceX. And SpaceX, dude, SpaceX is gonna take us to space for sure, dude.
To Mars.
Have you seen? I didn't know he had a project like this, but I forget what he calls it. But they just launched like 100+ satellites into space
Yeah.
to get to give internet access to rural communities. That's incredible. Because no other internet provider is trying to do that.
Well, yeah, because they want the free market, baby.
Well, yeah, because I mean, no other internet provider is trying to give access to these internet dead zones in the world, right? Because there's not money to be made there. But Elon is looking more in a humanitarian sense, right? He's like, I just want to give access to technology to the world.
Exactly.
And
That's why I love Elon.
He's got that Tesla money to be like, I can literally launch rockets whenever I want for any reason I want.
Yeah. Dude, I fucking love Elon Musk. Then he has his boring company where he comes out with stupid shit for no reason. Like the flamethrower. You know he's building like tunnels underground LA right now? To like help with traffic and shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like apparently did you watch the Joe Rogan podcast with him or no?
No, I never watched it. I mean, I watched the sections that were all memey and shit, but...
Right. But no, like, he was like, one day he was looking at this, he blew up a hole in the ground, and he was like, I'm gonna build tunnels to help with LA traffic. And so he's building underground right now. The dude is crazy.
Like, just to build, like, a what would they be called? Subterranean highway?
Something like
Essentially?
that. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, dude. He's cracked out of his goddamn mind.
Patron saint, bro. I swear to God.
Dude, really?
That's the thing. This world's greatest minds, they don't run for fucking political office. They spend their time doing real shit, dude.
Good. Like, that's why I like Elon so much. He's like, he's for the people, man. He's just a big meme for the people.
That's the thing. He's at this point where he can afford.
Right.
I think that's important to remember. Is he's at a point where he can afford to do what he wants to do, right? And he's just so lucky enough to have such a cult following that he's supported in whatever he does, right? Whereas you got some jackass who's, right, like if Jeff Bezos did something, whatever he does, right? Somebody would find a reason to spin it as him trying to just make money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, definitely.
If Jeff Bezos was building an underground highway, they'd be like, well, he's just going to monetize it so that rich people can use it.
He probably would though.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to put it past him, but I think that's just you got to remember too that, you know, Elon Musk is given kind of
Leeway.
a pedestal in a way.
Yeah,
you
true.
know. But I think he's earned that, right? He's shown that he does things for a very genuine and honest reason,
Right.
not because he's there to make money.
Have you ever seen The Kingsman?
The first one.
First one where that dude releases all those SIM cards for like free phone service.
Is that what that is? I thought it was like a mind control thing.
Well, it's like a SIM card for free phone service, and then when you like presses a button, it releases a frequency to like
That controls your mind.
That controls your mind and like the aggressive aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just thinking, what if Elon did that with the satellites and just made free internet for everybody?
I mean, he could if he wanted to. The only problem is, like, because there's other internet providers, right? They're going to make it hell for him to try and provide free internet. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you take one of the most profitable services in the world and make it free, I mean, shit. How does that impact Google, Apple? I mean, tech companies are probably going to make buku money on it because if everybody can have access for free, then they're going to buy technology. But as far as actual service, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Wild, man.
It is pretty crazy. Technology is nutty, dude.
Yeah.
Some people are just
if
nutty.
we use it in a good way.
True.
All right. I'm gonna not click end stream this time.
Welcome, single viewer. How are we today?
Bam. No, just kidding. Bam.
Yeah, you suck.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Slap that light switch, dog. Oh, hate for you to see us that way.
Yeah.
My apologies.
All of our imperfections. You want to talk to that candle? Ocean air and moss, baby.
Ocean air and moss. Dude, I got a thing for moss. Wouldn't call it a fetish per se.
It kind of sounds like it.
But, dude, I fuck with moss so heavy. Like, it's just cool. Like, you're just walking around and there's, like, some moist stones in the forest, bro. Yeah. And you got some moss hanging out. Like, kind of cool. I don't know. Moss can just grow anywhere. It's soft. It's chilling, bro. I don't know.
Dude.
That and mushrooms, like fungi. Fungi are just cool, man.
Oh, yeah. They can fucking...
If I were a botanist of any sorts, I would definitely be a mycologist.
For mushrooms?
Yeah, just studying fungi, dude.
Well, dude, did you... I don't know if...
Like fungi, every mushroom has its own unique spore pattern. Kind of like your fingerprint.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
It's pretty nutty.
Dude,
mushrooms are crazy in general because they're just like how they reproduce. And I don't know the exact details, but I know that something with their genetic makeup is like mushrooms are more related to humans than other plants or something like that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if this is...
Don't quote me on that, please. Don't.
Yeah. But apparently there's these mushrooms that like enter insects' bodies.
Oh yeah.
It takes over their nervous system.
The zombie ones, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Like ants. You've seen those pictures of ants with the little mushrooms sticking out of his head.
Shit's fucking crazy.
Yeah, just because it's like the ant goes into its colony and infects everybody else. You know, it's pretty nutty.
Yeah, they're taking over the world.
Gross.
It's gross.
Or I mean, that's like what is that? Among Us. Last of Us. There's those zombies that got like the mushroom spore looking at his heads. You know, I don't know. I've never played it. I've only seen like Let's Plays.
No.
But like in covering like Washington and Oregon is that giant ass mushroom. It's basically the same interconnected mushroom throughout the entire like region. I'm pretty sure.
Whoa.
I forget what the mushroom itself is, but yeah. Plants like that are nutty too. Like aspen trees, dude.
Yeah.
You know the ones that have the eyeballs on them?
Oh, yeah.
They kind of look like they have eyes. Those trees are all, like a cluster of those are actually all the same root system. So I don't know what the exact, fact is, but aspen trees, I believe, are technically the world's largest living organism because it takes so much space and it's all the same tree sharing the same root system.
That's sick.
Trees are crazy too, man. I know we
Dude.
kind of talked about that before. Did you know ebony trees? When ebony trees, the way they grow is they grow to where their boughs, their limbs, curve over to back to the ground, and when they reach the ground, that tree dies and it grows a new tree from the limb that touched the ground again.
Dude.
Isn't that like wild?
Yeah, trees are fucking crazy.
So like you'll find, like I've seen images online of ebony trees where it's like tunnels of ebony trees and it's dead trees and then new trees growing from the dead trees' old limbs.
Absolutely incredible.
Wild.
When I was in Colorado, we were looking at on some trees on a little hike, and Katie was telling me that there's a tree that releases something. I don't know. Katie, if you're in here, please explain. That you could use it like whatever it is for sunscreen. Like it literally produces sunscreen, pretty much like a natural sunscreen.
Huh. That's interesting.
Very fucking interesting.
I wonder what tree that'd be.
Yeah, Katie, please let us know.
Yeah, true. If you're anybody out there.
She's a supporter.
True.
All right, Zach.
Welcome to the Wander Army.
I don't know if I like that. We gotta come up with something.
Yeah.
Wanderites.
Yeah, what are we gonna call our followers or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what to call the topic of today. In general, I just kind of had this interconnected theme, I guess, of I don't know, kind of like where the fuck is my notes anyways, or are my notes? That's the proper English.
Yeah, Mr. English professor over here.
Hey, you know, if I've learned anything from my English degree, it's that language with grammar doesn't even reflect how English is actually used. So grammar is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
You
heard it here first. Grammar's all bullshit.
Fuck you for making me try grammar.
Yeah, so I guess like the theme for today, I guess, might be just skills, information, knowledge.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of weird,
A
but
broadened idea of all that.
yeah, it's just kind of related to, you know, our skills, not our skills, but skills as people that we might have, how we acquire those skills, you know, the best way to acquire skills, and then also kind of exposing oneself to different practices, fields, etc. So I kind of start out with this question, more or less. We've talked about it before here on the podcast. I sound like a real podcaster now. Yeah, I mean, actually, we are real podcasters. So this is a super kind of off-base tangent, but I was taking that Native American class last semester, right, and I read an article about how our expectations of what a Native American looks like, right, is the stereotypical, like, feather or, like, you know, headdress, right, and they live on the reservation, etc. But I read this article about how real Native Americans, or, you know, you can apply it to real Asians or real Germans or real whatever, right? The social stereotypical representation of that person never represents the real, obviously, lived life of a Native American, and how whatever, any Native American, they could be a Native American who's a business person, they could be a Native American who is a doctor, right? That's a real Native American, right? Because they are Native American and they're a business person. So like, why is that not a real representation of what it means to live as a Native American?
Yeah,
and I mean,
that makes sense.
And I apply that to us as podcasters, because even though we don't look like Joe Rogan, we're podcasting, and we are therefore podcasters.
1000%.
Anyways, podcasting as super amateur white dudes is not equivalent whatsoever to living as a Native American in America.
Hey, now, I did a intro to podcasting course at DoSpace.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. It was a little webinar.
Nice,
was
dude.
actually...
You got credentials?
Yeah, where's my fucking badge,
Shit.
dude? Where's my badge?
Put the diploma right
yeah, right there.
Right on the wall.
It was actually very interesting.
Was it?
Yeah,
I bet it was educational. Dude, you ever seen, we need to get some sponsors, bro. DoSpace, sponsor us. Come on. The new paper, I follow them. They could sponsor us.
Bubbly,
bro. But I was gonna say, what's that big one lately for like people doing their own classes on it? It's fucking Skillshare.
Dude, I have
Everybody's
that.
talking about Skillshare
I
all
have
the time,
Skillshare.
bro. Yeah, Skillshare's got all sorts of cool shit. Anyways, I guess that's kind of a good segue into what we're talking about. Because to start out with, I want to talk about like input versus output. We've kind of talked about it before. How you should aim to produce more than you consume, right? When we're talking about consumerism, last season, check it out. Shameless plug.
For ourselves.
Yeah. And I have, in my kind of free nerdy time, written kind of personal essays and shit about, what it means to consume more than produce, right? And this question of input versus output always comes up for me, where's the balance, right? Where's the balance between taking in input and obviously producing output, right? So I guess I'll kind of start out first that, right? Where like just ask you like, where's the balance, right?
Where's the balance
between input and output?
I mean, is there even a balance? Like,
yeah, I intend for this to be an open question, right? There's not a right answer, right?
Okay.
Because I mean I'll go deeper. I'm just,
Well, I mean, it really depends on like what aspects of what you're inputting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always like doing the content creator stuff because it's so easy to talk about.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're outputting content, but you're not inputting as much as you're consuming,
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're taking up all your time, not focusing on your own shit.
Right.
I mean, that's obviously a problem. If you're spending more money than you're making, at your job, that's obviously a problem. So I honestly couldn't even tell you where to start on a balance. I mean, what, scheduling shit? I mean...
Yeah, so yeah, I'll kind of take it.
Yeah,
like,
please do. I mean, now I feel how you feel whenever I ask, what do you think of this?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely like pros and cons in a way to like input, right? Because we need input, right? Like you said, if you're spending more than you're making, right, you're gonna hit a deficit, right? And it also goes the other way. If you're making too much, and then I guess money's not a good analogy because you make too much money, you're not spending enough. Like, what's the big deal? But if you're consuming, right, if you're eating food all the time but you're not working out, right, that's a problem. You're gonna gain weight, right? Yeah. If we're looking for analogies, and so when it comes to input, right, like the positives of input, and I've got notes here, so I keep looking down. Right, like you need input for inspiration, right? Yeah. And in the context of content creation, in the context of, weightlifting, right? If you want to learn how to work out more efficiently or have better workouts or something, you got to do research, right? That's input, right? Definitely. You're taking something in, right? Same thing for school, right? If you want to write a paper, you got to take research before you can create something out of it, right? There's 100 different ways you can make an analogy out of it.
With the balance, sorry to cut you off. I feel like you don't even know that balance until you kind of reach it. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so like, it's tough to find that balance because it's like kind of what I've written here, right? You got input for inspiration, right? If you're creating a podcast, it's probably in your best interest to listen to podcasts to get an idea of how maybe they stylize it, how they organize it, right? Maybe what editing styles they use or what topics they talk about, right? Because you need it for inspiration as far as ideas. But also you get motivated, right? You listen to somebody do a podcast and like, that's a damn good podcast. You go and you're like, I'm going to make a good podcast, right? You get motivated. You also see what's already out there, right? So if I listen to a podcast about, I don't know, shearing sheep, that came out of nowhere, but
I like it.
Right, I'm not going to make a podcast about shearing sheep because I know that especially if it's like Joe Rogan, right? If Joe Rogan does a podcast about shearing sheep, I'm not going to do that because everybody's going to watch Joe Rogan. So I'm going to find the unrepresented space, right, and try and occupy it.
And it's good to kind of listen to, the whole output thing. Like,
yeah, but then also input helps with imitation, right? So if I listen to a Joe Rogan podcast, I'm like, God, this guy he's great. I like this podcast, right? I kind of want to do something like that, right? I can imitate it, and like, hey, or even like a YouTube video, right? You watch a video and you're like, hey, I like that edit they did in this section, right? I'm gonna try that edit out, right? In my work, right? Mm-hmm. If you're teaching, right, you watch some kind of playback of a teacher maybe recording a lecture, right? You're like, okay, I like the teaching style they used for this X, maybe this this lesson that they're doing, right? I'll try and replicate that for my students, right? And put that into my repertoire, right? So you consume input for these different elements, right? To be inspired, motivated, learn, to how to make your stuff better, right? But on the flip side, right, it becomes an issue, and this is where that issue of balance comes from, right? Where you consume too much, right? Where you're watching too many podcasts, or you're watching too many gameplay videos, lectures, or you're reading too many books, right? And that sounds kind of, nonsensical, yeah, right? But you're consuming too much, and it's preventing you from actually producing, right? If your goal is to produce, and you're consuming things to produce better content or to get inspiration, etc., like I mentioned, right? There becomes a point where you're producing too much, or you're consuming too much because you're not producing any of that content, right?
But that goes also like, if you're listening to all these different podcasts or looking at all these lessons, like, that's not like you're literally watching those, taking what they're doing and just applying it yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And if you do that too often, you're not different at all.
Yeah, and there's definitely a balance in that sense too, where it's like you can take somebody's style or like learn from their lesson or whatever it is and put your spin on it, right? Or put it into your style, right? I want to try this with my style. So you're not changing your whole style so it matches something else, right? You're not trying to fit a trend. You're just trying to incorporate new ideas and mix it up, right? Because that's how we get better, right? Exactly. And that relates to essentially the rest of what I'm talking about today is taking something you're learning and mixing up what you're doing instead of either, like I said, not producing at all or never changing, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be adaptable, right? And so, yeah, like this input issue, right? Like I said, if you're not producing output, but even bigger than that, and I have a lot going on with this, is when we consume input and let that serve as like a false like achievement, right? So I use the weightlifting analogy because if we say we like, okay, I'm gonna start going to the gym. I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm gonna do, back and buys, chest and tries, legs and shoulders, right? I'm gonna hit it up, you know what I mean?
Respect the split.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and so I watch videos on YouTube. I'm like, all right, what are some good back and by workouts? And I take some notes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try these out. And then I watch the next one for chest and tries. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And then do shoulder and legs, right? And then I'm like, okay, that sounds good. But then I'm like, okay, but I see this other video for back and buys. I'm gonna watch that and see what they say, right?
Okay.
And so now I'm watching these videos back to back and just saying, okay, really. And in my head, I'm telling myself, well, all I'm doing is research. I'm just researching so I can get a really good workout going, right? And I let that serve as like a false achievement, right? I'm rewarded. It's like a false reward, right? It's I don't know. Essentially, is instead of actually working out and just doing it and then changing the process as I do it, right? I'm trying to perfect it too early and letting that learning space, I'm letting that be the achievement of working out. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm just getting ready to work out, bro. Like
but then you never go.
Yeah, but you never do it. So we let this process of input and getting ideas or motivated or like stylistic changes, etc. You let that process become a source of accomplishment instead of the actual output become your accomplishment, right?
Right.
And that's the dangerous trap to fall into, right? When you're just taking content in and convincing yourself that you're getting better, when in reality, how are you improving if you're not actually doing the thing you're trying to improve at?
Definitely.
And so again, like that balance comes into play.
Right, and like I said, you don't really find that balance until you reach that balance. So
yeah,
I mean, it goes back into the whole thing we talked about last week was, or maybe it was last week. I don't know. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it plays right into there.
Yeah, no, totally. And I attribute it, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, I attribute it to a lot of perfectionism, too, because I've fallen prey to this. That's why I've written about it, because it's like I've been there, right?
I think we all have.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I attribute a lot of it personally to perfectionism, right? Where, like, I want to do something really well, right? And so, of course, I'm going to try and learn as much as I can about that thing, right? I'm going to try and find as much out about it so that I can execute as perfectly as I can, right? So that the outcome is as rewarding as it possibly can be, right? But the problem is that you're setting your expectations too high.
Well, that's the thing, dude. Like, nobody will ever be perfect.
No.
So, like, if you're chasing that perfectionism, like, you're never going to reach it because nothing will ever be good enough because nobody's fucking perfect. You got to get that through your head right now. You're not perfect. Nobody is.
Right. That's what perfectionism is, just a whole problem in its own right.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it prevents you from doing so much.
Right. And, you know, I think, yeah, like I said, we've all fallen into that perfectionism trap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I definitely have. I mean, you literally just said.
Yeah, I mean, I would call myself a chronic perfectionist.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
I think perfectionism, procrastination, and this like I'm talking about this input issue, they're all kind of a trifecta to me.
Definitely. It's fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, definitely, like, perfectionism has gotten in the way of me wanting to do things, procrastination, shit like that. Because when I started working out and started watching those videos too, I fell in the same fucking trap. Like, oh, sick! I got my bro split down.
Yeah.
I started going to the gym and shit. You know, you get hyped for it, and then you're like, I have the notes. I can just go tomorrow.
Yeah, you're like, you know, it's like I'm still trying to figure out what the actual workout's gonna be.
Instead of
you tell
just
yourself
going to
that
do
there's
it,
still more to do, when you just go do the workout, and then figure out what you could have done better. Yeah, and then like to me, right, like this perfectionist attitude, you're like, you know, you are doing this research, say, to create the best product. But then, like, you get those expectations too, and then that's why you procrastinate. Because then you're like, okay, I've done this research, I know what I got to do. But then, like, what if I can't do it right? You know? And then you just don't do it. Right? You put it off because you're afraid of failing at something that you're already predetermining yourself to fail at.
Well,
you know?
Here's the thing, too.
When there's
like,
obviously no proof actually that you're going to fail.
Exactly, which, live in the present, baby. You don't know.
True, yeah. And that's, dude, anxiety, I've come to be convinced that anxiety is 100% just an issue with being too occupied in the future, right?
Well, yeah, anxiety is future, depression is the past. So you gotta find that balance in the middle with anything, of course. But another sense, I wanted to talk about the whole gym thing too, because like, especially me, I was definitely scared to start going to the gym and shit. Like, with, you know, people there judging, stuff like that. Like, that's the whole thing behind it too. Is I hate saying this, but the haters, you know, like I hate that phrase, but that's what it is too. That plays into the whole perfectionism thing. Because if you're not perfect, everybody's gonna. When you go in there, you think like, holy shit, everybody's looking at me. I gotta do this lift perfect, or someone's gonna come up to me and fucking say something to me. Like, there's just shit's fucked.
Yeah, when I see myself, you know, kind of going on that tangent with the gym, when I see myself getting like self-conscious at the gym, it's because I stop and I recognize that I'm watching everybody else around me and looking at the way that they're working out. So I think that everybody's doing the same to me, when they're not.
No.
That dude who's yoked as fuck in the corner is literally there. All he's looking at is fucking, you know, his traps. That's all he's doing, bro. He's looking at his traps, getting swole, and doing his thing. He doesn't give a shit about me.
Well, what's crazy at the gym too is like the actual gym culture. Now that we're on the topic, is like everybody's there for the same reason. So like if you're scared to go to the gym and you're listening to this, just fucking go. Nobody cares. Like, literally. You're all there for the same reason.
And literally that dude or that chick who just looks great at the gym, like, they were you literally
however
2 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? They just put in the work.
Exactly. So it's like, now it's your turn.
You're sitting there thinking somebody's judging you, but they're probably looking at you like, wow, I used to be there.
And that's with anything too,
or like,
you know? Like,
so it goes both ways. Like, sure, they might be looking at you and be like, wow, I've come so far. Yeah. But you can be looking like, I'm going to be that. You know what I mean? Like, that can be inspiration, right? But anyways, getting back from the gym. So yeah, like, again, like that input versus output, right? Like, where's the balance, right? Because you can't take in too much, but then if you're putting out so much where you're not even considering, like, if what you're putting out is really that great, you know what I mean? Like, where's the balance?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like,
sure. It's tough. Like,
no, you just gotta find it, man.
Yeah, and I like you said, I think I agree, right? Like, you find that balance once you actually start doing it. The biggest thing is just that trap of constantly consuming, because you're like making excuses essentially to not actually do the thing you want to do. You know?
Right, and excuses are the devil.
Right.
Bobby Boucher.
And so yeah, like, these first two topics are kind of a pair leading into the last section of my notes, right? So we talked about like input, output, but then also being a specialist versus being a jack of all trades, or what's called being a polymath, right? Like
so what do you think you are?
I would consider myself. So this is kind of tricky, right? Because specialists and polymaths, right, are two extremes, right? You have a specialist who's literally like dedicated and very skilled at one thing, and then you have the polymath or the jack of all trades, right, who is is okay at a lot of things, right? And the ideal to me is at the center, where like you have a skill, but you take the time to expose yourself to other things as well, right? So you have that one thing, right, that you're really good at, and like that can be like your fallback, right, where like, you know, people who are lucky enough, I was a doctor, right, and if I need to, I can go back to being a doctor, but I'm lucky enough now to explore other options, right? Like that's an ideal. Or, you know, the person who's like, I'm a teacher, I love being a teacher, but in their free time they explore art and they, you know, explore stocks or, you know, whatever. They expose they expose themselves to other fields outside of their specialization, right? So to me, the perfect version, right, is being a specialist who takes the time to purposefully expand your horizons, right? But for the time being, right, there's specialists and being a polymath, right, being a jack of all trades. And so that's the thing, like, should we be specialists or should we be a jack of all trades, right?
So first off, I want to ask you this. Is the quote, I already know, but do you think the quote is jack of all trades, master of one, or jack of all trades, master of none?
I've always heard and told myself jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, so that's true. Like, it's master of none.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're a jack of all trades, you don't have one that you...
Right. You can do everything okay,
yeah,
but you don't do one thing amazing.
Yeah, it's master of none,
right.
Not one.
Yeah. And that's and I think about this because actually here loud and clear, Alex, she's been giving me shit because I don't call her out often enough on the stream. Alex, listen up. She told me the other night at dinner that I tend to have a very general knowledge of a lot of things, right? Okay? Which is a very nice compliment, thank you. However, does that mean that I don't know one thing very well? Right?
I mean, yeah, of course. Do you remember on my Insta where I did that? It was like that meme with the Sesame Street character. And you were just sitting on the ground and he was like, when you have a whole bunch of surface level knowledge, but like that's all you can, all you fucking know. So you just think you're smart as fuck. But no, dude, I mean, I definitely consider myself like, I don't like just doing one thing. I like doing a whole bunch of fucking things. Mm-hmm. I think one thing's just boring.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah, like, so we're in the same boat here. Like, I mean, I don't even...
But, like, could you see yourself becoming an expert in one field?
Definitely.
Right.
I definitely could see myself.
Because that's the thing. Like, I think it's attractive to be able to have the ability to, like, explore multiple things, right? And be that jack of all trades, right? But then, like I wrote here, right? Being a specialist is more marketable.
Right.
Right? Especially today, right? Like, Luke, for example, he's an accountant. That's a very marketable, specialized skill, right?
There, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because accounting fucking hard.
Well, that, but like, sure, there are probably some elements of accounting which can be attributed to other professions, right?
Like,
however, you go to school to be an accountant, you're probably going to be an accountant, right? And that is your marketable skill that is on your CV, resume, whatever, right? I am an accountant, right? I do math, I count numbers, I'm very good at it, right? And there's a benefit to that, right? There's something really good about that because it's marketable, right? You have experiential knowledge that's directed in one direction, right? You have one field that you've put a lot of time into, right? That you can say, I'm a specialist, you know? And then again, with that is the career security, right? The job security that comes with being a specialist, right? So being a specialist is financially, occupationally, economically, whatever, the better choice. But for some reason, it's still more attractive to be engaged in multiple things at the same time.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right?
I mean, of course. Like I said,
so it's kind of a weird
shit gets boring
thing
after a while, you know? Like,
right?
Why would I want... I mean, more power to everybody that is a specialist. But
yeah, we called out Luke from an accountant. He just left. We're like 2 viewers now.
He said, fuck these guys, dude. But no, I don't think I hate just doing... I mean, this is probably part of my OCD and shit. but I hate just doing one thing over and over again. Like, shit gets boring.
Yeah.
Like, so, but some people like that. Some people like that job security. Like, some people want to have that shit on their resume to, you know, keep moving forward in the field. But, like, man, I mean, I just like having fun, you know?
Yeah, and then that's what I kind of, like, pros, obviously, like I said, you're marketable, you got experience, and you got job security, right? But then on the con, the negative side of that, right, you get pigeonholed, right? You're an accountant, you're probably going to be an accountant forever, right? Which, and again, like you said, some people are cool with that. Some people aren't so cool with that, right? Yeah. Some people are, like, kind of dismayed by the idea that I'm going to do the same thing forever, which I think comes into the next part, where I think that the fact that we live in a society we live in a society that expects people to be specialized, right? That causes a lot of anxiety for young adults, right? I think that's why so many people in college get freaked out, right? Trying to make a decision about a major, right? This idea that I'm only 18 and I got to make my life decision, right? That causes a lot of problems because people are, they you know, why can't I experience multiple things at the same time? Why am I expected to be a professional in one thing, right? So this idea, like, being a specialist sounds the most beneficial, but it's also, in a way, the least fulfilling. Yeah. Because then again, kind of the launching point here from the specialist angle is you have less interdisciplinary exposure, right? If you're a specialist, and again, I'll keep using the accountant, or if you don't want to say the accountant thing, then you're, I don't know, you're a fine art major. Whatever, right? Or pharmacist, right? Or whatever, right?
What have you?
You're a pharmacist. You're probably doomed to be in pharmacy for the rest of your life, right? And there's an issue there as far as your roundedness, because now you're only focused in and being exposed to elements of the pharmacy world, right? Certain, you know, viewpoints to medicine, certain lifestyles related to, you know, if you want to take it into, you know, socioeconomic status, right? But the point is when you pigeonhole yourself, right, and dedicate yourself into one zone, you're not exposing yourself to the opinions, experiences, etc. of other zones.
Right.
Right? Which takes us into the jack of all trades being what's called a polymath, right? Which is, you're not specializing, right? So you're not just being an accountant. You're being a guy who's good at math, a guy who can make arguments, a guy who can sell, a guy who can, or gal.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Come on, dude.
Fucking,
Are you fucking serious right now?
Bigot. Fuck me.
Idiot.
You know, you have skills in multiple places. You're construction, maths, you know, law, whatever. You've got a wide range of interest in applicable skills, but they're not deep. Right? They're not so deep that you can say, I am a specialist, I'm a professional, I have experience in years that back up my capabilities, right? So that's the negative part of that, right? Where, yeah, you've done a lot of things, but none of it's quite substantial enough to say that you can do this well.
Full time.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so if we're talking in terms of an occupation, right? So, yeah, it begs the question, right? People who are jack of all trades, you don't have marketable skills, right? You don't have that experiential knowledge on your resume, like I said, and really there's no job security because you're expendable, right? Because you're not the best of the best or whatever at what you do, you know? But on the other hand, right, you're open opportunities. You can do whatever you want to do, right? Because you've opened yourself up to those experiences. And like I said, you do what interests you, right? So there's more fulfillment in that, where, like, you're not pigeonholing yourself. You're doing what interests you at the time or what really calls to you, you know? And then, again, you have potential to build something with your combined skills, right? There's something big there for me personally, right? Where you might not have a lot in one area, but maybe you can make something out of multiple areas, which I think is where this current culture of people wanting to be content creators, people wanting to do that kind of stuff, be artists, musicians. We have a very big culture these days, I think, of artistry in general, right? It doesn't matter if it's video, audio,
whatever,
visual, whatever, you know? And I think that's because people are like, I want to combine the things I'm interested in into one thing rather than
just having that one thing at the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just being one professional whatever, And so that idea of being a jack of all trades, right? To me, it's like it's difficult because you got to split the difference, right? Because you don't want to be like, yes, it's attractive to be this guy or gal who is capable of doing a lot of things at the same time, who's able to express themselves and pursue the things they want to pursue. And then it's also very attractive to be somebody who is marketable, employable, and capable of obtaining a very secure position in society, right? So, like, to me, like I said, you have to find that middle where you specialize in something, but you expose yourself to other things around you, right? You don't put yourself in a bubble. You don't separate yourself out.
But a lot of people are scared to do that, though.
Yes, and that's exactly what I'm going into. Because there's so much, like, yes, because, yeah, if you want to survive, you have to have a marketable skill. Right? You have to be able to be an accountant if you're going to be an accountant, right? Especially if you want to make money, right? But don't be an accountant and never expose yourself to anything else around you, right? Don't explore, like, don't stop yourself from exploring other interests or other professions or, you know, like, don't be an accountant and then be that guy who's like, well, I never took the time to learn another language, even though I wanted to go to that country.
Right.
Or I never learned how to ski because I wanted, you know, even though I wanted to ski. Or, like, you know, don't stop yourself from experiencing, trying different things. Or, like, I never, you know, learned this because I didn't take the time to do it.
Because I was so busy specializing my accounting.
Yeah, I was so focused on my one thing, I didn't take the time to experience any other things. But then on the other side is, like, don't spend all your time experiencing 100 things, but not actually enjoying one thing that's actually valuable to you, right? So again, you have to be that guy who's got the one skill, but then build around that skill, right? So, like, have your one selling point, but then have a good foundation or something, you know? Which I think a lot of college curriculums specifically try to build that in, right? Usually they have a section of your college, your graduation requirements, which is like your educational breadth, right? Where you have to take a certain amount of humanities, language, science, and or whatever, you know. There are those requirements, but they're really not that substantial, right? You take 3 credits of fine art, and then you don't ever have to look at it again.
Yeah, it's on the back burner.
Yeah, you don't ever have to look at it again, and it's like a nightmare of your past. Which I want to take into diversifying this idea of being a specialist versus a polymath, right? Because we're talking a lot in terms of skill, but then, like, in terms of knowledge, right, or experience, and specifically exposing yourself to viewpoints different from your own, right? Because we tend to use the term pigeonhole, right? Or we insulate ourselves or put ourselves into bubbles where we are only surrounded by the ideas, beliefs, ideologies, etc., that are shared by us and people like us.
Exactly.
Right? And so this idea of, like, you can be a specialist, right? And when I say specialist now, I mean you can have your ideology, right? You can have your beliefs, your values, your morals, ethics, etc. You can have that core makeup of your identity, essentially, right? So you're specializing, but then add that polymath attitude in there, right? And purposely expose yourself to things that don't agree with what your values are, right? Purposefully employ an interdisciplinary attitude, right?
Well, for sure. Like, that's, I mean, with the whole, big old politics thing going on right now, like, when we were talking about it, when we were going over your notes, about how on Twitter, like, you follow the people who have the same ideologies as you, like, people that are following you, that's the only tweets that pop up for you. Like, you are insulating yourself with people who are only like you. So
yeah, things that reaffirm your beliefs. They don't challenge your beliefs.
So that puts you into that specialized category of only thinking that one thing. And that only that one thing is correct. Which is fucked.
Yeah. Well, and that's the bigger problem, too, is, like, yes, not only are you preventing yourself from from experiencing other viewpoints, right? From challenge. So, because, like, people hold I'll pick a very controversial one just for the sake, right? People hold on to that very tight belief of, like, you know, Planned Parenthood should be legal. People should have the choice, right? Pro-choice. people are very dedicated to that. And I personally am, right? I would call myself a pro-choice person, right? But there are people who intentionally do not learn about the other side of the argument because they don't want to be triggered or they don't want to read what they would just automatically consider to be ignorant, right?
But in the sense they're the ignorant ones because they can't even...
and there is ignorance in that if you're not willing to consider somebody else's viewpoint in general, which I have this quote written, not a quote, but something that I think about, right? Where you can consider somebody else's viewpoint without making it your own. Right? And so, you should expose yourself to, for example, controversial or upsetting or offensive or triggering viewpoints, right? Or things, that are personally so, because you'll learn something regardless, right? And that's the key point is, you can specialize, like we said, and have your ideology, your beliefs, your core foundations, but, be adaptable. Because what if you expose yourself to something that somebody else believes that you were not willing to learn, but actually, transformed you?
Exactly. Can you talk about, discourse? And I really gotta go fucking blow my nose.
Yeah, dude. Christian's gotta go.
I have Rona.
He's got the Rona, apparently. And so this idea, right, of insulating oneself, being in a bubble, kind of goes further. Like Christian brought up social media, where you're on Twitter, and Twitter has a function of, users you might like, or you're on, what's up? No, I don't want to see it. Or on YouTube, right, where it's videos that are like the ones you watch, right? It's content that's curated, right? Curated content specifically, right? That becomes an issue because social media does it. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. They curate the information and media you consume. Mm-hmm. So algorithmically, they are providing you with content that already aligns with the content you consume and the beliefs that you hold and the things that you know, right? So systematically, with the technology we use, we are being prevented from being exposed to contradicting or opposing viewpoints, right? But then even in search engines, Google, if you use Bing, you're a freak. Or if you use Bing,
dude.
If you use Bing, or Google, right? Those Google results aren't random. You type in a request, right? Obviously, it's calculating the most relevant based on the words you use, but then also it's calculating based on past search history, right? So it's saying, okay, you're searching for hot singles near me, right? But it's going to give you recommendations based on your past searches, too.
It's going to pull up websites and shit like that.
Yeah, so you're going to say hot singles near me, but then it's going to say, okay, well, we're going to bring up hot singles who are democratic, who are pro-choice, who are vegan, who are, into working out, etc. Because
the cookies.
Yes, because you've looked at that content previously. And so you as an individual have to take the responsibility and the initiative to find and expose yourself to content that is deliberately different from the content you typically observe, because you're otherwise just being insulated.
And then once you actually take that leap and actually, listen, you gotta listen to listen, not listen to respond.
Yes.
Right? So once you actually, take, I'm not saying I take that advice, but you take that step into, talk,
if you
looking into the pro-choice.
Just consider the viewpoint. Just consider it from an intellectual point. That's key. You have to be intellectual about it. You can't just automatically be emotionally responsive.
You're gonna be non-biased.
Yeah, you can go in unbiased, right? You can leave your ego at the door, right? And just go in and think, okay, I just want to learn about it and see what they have to say. If I don't agree with it, whatever, but I don't have to be a dick about it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the problem is, a huge part of it is we're incapable as a society of being not emotionally responsive. If for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know if it has to do with social media and the fact that everybody just has immediately the capability to just throw their ideas out there, you know what I mean? Or if somewhere along the lines education has taken a misstep where people aren't learning how to just consider viewpoints from a logical or intellectual perspective, right? Anyways, everything has to be emotionally responsive. Nobody can take the time and say, okay, I see what you're saying, and I understand that, but consider this.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, why would you even say that? Why would you offend me that way? You're being triggering, you son of a bitch. Like, fuck you.
Well,
everything's got to be an attack on your identity, and it's not that at all.
It really has, like, this day and age, like, everybody's soft. Everything is triggering to anybody. Anything can be.
Yeah, you can't say anything online without offending somebody.
No,
it's impossible.
Why is
what I just said has probably offended somebody who's ever watching?
Yeah, dude. Why? There's nothing to be offended over. Like, I don't know why everybody has to be so emotionally responsive to somebody else's viewpoints when that's literally their fucking viewpoint, dude. Like, just because they don't share the same ideas as you doesn't mean you can't be friends. It's so stupid. I hate it. Like, that's the whole mindfulness and open-minded thing that we like to preach on this podcast. Go watch the first season. We talk about it a lot, actually.
Yeah, and that open-mindedness is huge too, because like the issue that I think part of the issue is the fact that everybody holds on to their identity too much, right? They and in a way, yes, your ideologies, your beliefs, right, your values, your morals, ethics, etc., whatever creates your fundamental idea of like what your compass is, right? Yes, that does inform your identity in a way, but people take it too far and they say, okay, this is what I believe, and anybody who says anything that's against what I believe is literally attacking me.
Yeah.
Right? They take it as an affront to them personally when that's not the case.
Not at all.
Literally, because if you want to consider on terms of identity, that just means that one person is being themselves and this other person is being their self. Right? How does the fact that I exist as Zach and you exist as Christian offend me as a human being?
It shouldn't.
No, because that's just all you're doing. You're just existing.
Yeah.
Right? And so in the same sense, right, your ideology exists, but somebody else's ideology is not literally a direct attack on your ideology. It's just an existing ideology. It's when you let that perception of it being an opposition to your identity, that's where it becomes an emotionally responsive or this sense of self being attacked, right?
People are taking it, like, really extreme, too. Like, the whole world's not about you. Like, the whole ego thing. Like, it's bad nowadays when people think don't be bigger than something that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
Like, you can't reach that status. You don't want to reach that status. Nobody wants to be there. I mean, people don't realize that. But don't try to be something bigger than what you truly are. You're just literally a human being living on this planet, sharing it with other human beings with different viewpoints who have different egos. Now you just gotta kind of find that middle balance.
Yeah.
Set in a little bit, strap on the fucking seatbelt.
Yeah.
And just kind of experience it.
Right. Well, and the other thing is like, this is a metaphor. It's not meant to underrepresent anybody else, but it's like you gotta leave your dicks at the door, right? You're not measuring your dicks all the time.
Yeah, it's not a dick measuring contest,
You gotta come in and
you really struggled to get that out.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the right way to like phrase it, but like that's the thing. Like, just leave your shit at the door and come in and just be civil about it. Talk, right? It's you're sharing ideas, right? Why can't you just share ideas, right? That's the whole, like we've talked about before in other episodes, right? The whole point of us being on this planet together is to share ideas and create better things out of the collaboration of ideas.
We're here to create, yeah.
And so what I've kind of written here, I don't know, it doesn't have to be like a stopping point by any means. But I talk about social media being kind of like a source of that because in the past, particularly in antiquity, right, in like ancient Greece, Rome, etc., basically when Socrates, Plato, fucking Aristotle and shit were doing their thing, it was common for this practice to occur where people would intentionally take viewpoints that were different from their own, right? They would say, I believe this, and then some other guy would be like, I believe this, and they would sit down and debate about it and have this argument, right? A civil argument, to be clear.
No, they're pulling out their swords.
Yeah, and they would literally just talk about their ideas with the intent of deciding which one was superior through just conversation and debating, right? And that was capable or possible for one reason because it was an oral society, right? They literally, the people were in the streets giving speeches to get it, like people weren't writing. Literacy was zero. You know, nobody could write, and the people who could write were rich and powerful and shit like that, right? So like it was an oral society, so like that was capable of happening. But we like the internet is more like an oral society than than any written society that we've been a part of.
But it's to the masses.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. You can put a post out there and you're speaking orally, right? Just like you would an orator on the streets in Rome, right? You put something out there, you should expect that somebody's going to come back and say, okay, but what about this, right? And you should be willing to talk about it, right? Like, why would you not put an idea out there with the hope that somebody else might make that idea better or offer an idea that might make you think differently, right?
Right.
The value, in my opinion, I think the value should be that you always want to think differently and improve the way you're thinking, right?
I'm right there with you, dude. That's why I fucking hate social media. I mean, obviously I'm on it.
Well, yeah, and social media is a great tool for that, but then, like I said, this curated content prohibits that.
Well, especially the whole certain we're still sticking on the Twitter thing. Like, if your Twitter is strictly
Did you like that tweet I put out the other day?
Dude, I sent it to you. I sent it from my account back to the Wander Twitter. I was like, dude, this graphic is sick.
Oh, I just found a random GIF. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but it's GIF.
Whatever.
But no, I did like it. It was fucking tight.
I was sitting there eating an orange, and I was like, yo, this crunches just like a shrimp, bro.
So you didn't even get that from anywhere? You just thought of it?
No, I literally thought it on the spot. I was eating an orange, and I was like, bro, the crunch sound is just like when a shrimp crunches in your mouth. I wasn't high, I swear. I was just chilling. I was bored.
No, what I was saying, if somebody's page is strictly Democratic, Republican, pro-choice, pro-life news, that's all you're gonna put out there, of course. And if your following is to the extremists who are following you, of course, you're gonna give into that extremist kind of role play, I guess. Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
I hate. I mean, would you consider those let's say a Republican or Democratic extremist into that specialty role, right?
Yeah, if we're talking about intellectual specialization, right, or ideological specialization, right? There's people who hold extremist views or at least hold views that they're unwilling to change or consider another viewpoint, right? That's definitely a specialization, right?
Social media sucks.
Yeah, and to me,
have you watched social? You haven't.
No, I haven't yet. I'm sorry.
We should just sit down, have some popcorn.
Yeah, I know.
Put some M&Ms in there and just watch.
Bro, I
it
got
together,
peanut M&Ms at home. Them shit's smacking some popcorn.
I've never had peanut M&Ms and popcorn.
Oh, it's fire.
I don't know.
Life changing, dude.
Life changing?
Probably.
All right, can we do?
I've been doing it for my whole life, so.
You're a freak.
Well, see, that's what we're saying, bro. Why you gotta come at me like that? You just consider it, try it out, and maybe it'll change your life, bro.
Dude, let's fucking watch The Social Dilemma with some peanut M&M popcorn, dude.
Dude, it's so good. It's really good.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you sleep with your socks on?
Fuck no.
See, that shit's weird, right?
Why?
That shit's weird.
It's weird to sleep with your socks on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Just had to put that
Now, if you want to come at me and say, dude, just consider it, think about it, and you're like, keeps your toes warm, all right? You don't got to step out on the cold hardwood floor in the morning, all right? I'll be like, I get that, but I don't want to have sweaty toes.
Dude,
but I took the time and I considered what you had to say. Right?
Exactly.
I didn't shut you down and call you a freak. You know what I mean?
Well, I just had to put some content out there for the cast.
Yeah,
call you a
for
freak.
sure.
No, what we should do is have a debate on cannibalism. Because I know last time when we talked about it.
Oh, yeah?
We fucking... See, that's one thing I can't get behind.
Cannibalism?
Is fucking trying human flesh. You freak.
Look, I'm not going to try human flesh.
You said no.
Because I'll go to jail for it, okay?
Yeah, the words were, if I had the opportunity, I'd try it.
I mean, you don't have that curiosity?
Of course I do, but I'm a fucking picky eater. You know I wouldn't eat that shit.
Yeah. Okay. I take human buttocks, make a chicken tender out of it, bro. You gonna eat that shit? It's a chicken tender. What are you gonna do about it?
It's not a chicken tender. It's a human tender.
Yeah.
You fucker.
Whatever.
Dude, fried up.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it was fried,
Probably smacks. I'm just saying.
it probably would.
Humans
smack.
got a lot of dark meat. All right. Well, most humans. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, let's get off the cannibalism subject.
Yeah,
please.
I was gonna say, because you had talked about social media and fuck, what was I gonna say? You're talking about like extremist accounts, right? Who only have one thing, right? And
Intellectual specialty.
yeah, God, what was I gonna say?
Um,
Something about.
we talked about politics and specialists, the extremist social media accounts.
I don't know what I was gonna
what
say.
were we
I feel
talking
kinda
about before the
frustrated.
social dilemma? We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna backtrack.
Well, we were talking about how, you curated this content and everything, right? And I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna remember it until after we close the stream, but it's fuck. I feel really annoyed by this now.
Yeah, that shit's actually the worst.
But I don't know. To me, right, like, I guess kind of just building off that anyways, those people who are online and have these very, like, honestly, like Elizabeth Warren, right? On, what is she? I don't know. She's a representative in the Senate, right? Or maybe she's a state.
I don't
I think
know
she's
who
a
you're
senator.
talking about, so.
She's very, like, she's like basically like Bernie best friend. Like, she's very much like Bernie Sanders in a way. But she's always on Facebook and whatnot. She's always got views that are very leftist, right? And I think people like that definitely promote this culture of unwavering ideologies. You know what I mean? It's like if you surround yourself by people who are like so extremist in a way, right?
You will
You're
become
just-
one.
Yeah, you're essentially kind of submitting to a cult in a way.
Right,
You know,
that's-
that's like, I mean, like look at
That's
Alex
what it
Jones,
is,
right?
Yeah.
People who followed Alex Jones, legitimate. Like I've watched interviews with people who used to work for him who were like legitimately like this guy is he's right. Like people were convinced, but then they stopped working with him. And, like this guy's a nut job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it, as a cult.
And then part of that too is I think the internet and social media and our abilities in a digital landscape are advancing faster than our online etiquette is advancing, right? Because if you have a following like that, if you have an influence like that, you have a responsibility, right? Now, a lot of people don't think that. They're like, I am an influencer, I make this content, fuck you if you think I shouldn't make this content. I personally think if you're making content online, you should promote this, you don't have to be, you don't have to betray your beliefs, right? You can promote what you want to promote, right? And use your following to support things that you care about, because likelihood is your following supports it as well.
Right.
However, you should also use your influence to educate people and teach people how to educate themselves or be open-minded. Like personally, that's just my personal value, though. A lot of people probably don't think the same thing, but I think there's a responsibility to people who have a wide influence to influence for the better, no matter what.
Right, dude.
Just like the president, we expect that the president behave a certain way and has a certain image because he represents America. He's an influence on a lot of people, etc. Right? He has influence. When you have influence, you're expected to have a certain level of responsibility of to behave a certain way.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you. I know the open-mindedness, I fucking hate when people don't just take anything with a grain of salt, It's like
True.
all about them. Like, you're selfish at that point, Like, that's what you are. You're selfish. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yo, we need more Twitter followers. That's for sure. So please go follow the Twitter. We need it.
I haven't paid attention. I last time I looked when I made that tweet, we probably had like 12 or something.
I think so. And then please subscribe. We're at a solid 16 subscribers. Let's fucking break 20.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, it's sick. 16 subscribers, I'll fucking take it.
Oh, is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. What we need to do is we need to get the Facebook all finalized.
Hey,
But
I got time, baby.
yeah, you got time,
I
brother.
got time, baby.
I don't know. We're coming to the end, I guess. Kind of things are just slowing down a little bit. But I kind of want to leave you with this question: is like, just to think about to the one viewer we have right now, You may be unnamed, but we respect you.
Heavy.
What if someone else's belief proves transformational to your identity?
Can you just repeat that for me one time?
What if somebody else's belief proves transformational to your identity? Right? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to answer the question, obviously, but just think about it, right? Like, maybe you're in a position where you've been resistant to somebody else's viewpoint, or maybe you've been hearing a lot about some other, viewpoint, and you haven't really given it the time to think about it or anything. Just take the time. I think it ties a lot into just learn something new every day, right? Just take the time, learn something new, expose yourself to new things. Don't stagnate.
Yeah.
Right? Don't achieve something, whether it's a professional, occupational, economic, life experience, doesn't matter. Don't achieve something and then just call it quits. Right? What's that fucking that meme of that old lady? It's never too late. You're never too old to stop learning, or whatever that old lady says in those college things. Literally, just don't stagnate.
No.
Don't stagnate.
There's no point.
Keep learning. Expose yourself to new things. Consider new
experiences,
horizons, or whatever. I don't know.
No, I'm right there with you, man. Like, just why not? Why fucking not? Just
Honestly,
do it.
Yeah. Is there really a good argument against considering somebody else's viewpoint for the sake of expanding your own horizons?
Yeah, dude. Just
you literally have to be so.
Learning something
ignorant.
doesn't have to be like fucking. What do you call it? You don't have to learn math. It's for you to be learning something new.
Right.
That was hard. Actually, that was really hard to think of something.
Yeah, and then I said again, you can consider somebody else's viewpoint without it being your own viewpoint, right? You can take somebody else's idea, think about it without having to accept that idea as truth, right? But the process of considering somebody's idea, exploring the idea, and really understanding it is going to take you a lot further in the way that you hold your beliefs than if you were to just disregard their idea.
You're expanding
the whole
mind.
time.
You're expanding your own.
Yeah, for real. The outlook should just be, you know what? I'm not accepting this viewpoint, but I am expanding my own horizon, my own understanding of how things roll. So
I like that.
I don't know.
My Olive Garden breadstick fingers. Dude, did I ever tell you about the time I was streaming and I had a mouse cam instead of a face cam so you could see my sick fucking flicks?
Oh, yeah?
And somebody random.
Those inputs, bro?
Yeah, somebody random comes in my stream and goes, "You have Olive Garden breadstick fingers, dude." I never shut off that camera so fast. It was so fucking bad, dude.
Bro.
I hated it.
Legendary. I would have shouted that guy out. I don't even care. Yeah,
what's his Twitch? Let's go shout him out.
Let's
go back to the bots.
Yeah, let's go raid his fucking stream with our one viewer, bro. It's probably Cam and Alex. They're vibing. They're dedicated viewers.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate it.
We do have some dedicated
You
viewers.
support this stream entirely.
A lot of people do. I mean, there's a few, but we appreciate it.
Fat Boy Loves Cake. Haven't seen you in a hot minute, my guy.
Yeah, where the fuck are you at, man? He's always on Twitter hyping us up.
Honestly.
But never in the YouTube.
That's alright.
No, people are busy.
No, I mean, he hyped up the YouTube early.
He did. He fucking did, dude. He was
He's
crap.
probably the first follower or subscriber.
I think,
aside from us following our own account.
Yeah, but like he just came out of fucking nowhere out of the left field.
Yeah, look, I'm not here to call you out, homie, because we respect you and we appreciate you, but I'm still not entirely convinced you're not a bot, bro. Because you be on so many podcasts, but I just don't know.
I don't know. That was wild, dude. When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But, hey.
Hey, support is support, though.
Support.
Anyways.
Baby. Yeah, just support. Go follow the Twitter. Go join the Discord.
Hope you enjoyed the chat today.
Yeah, it was very interesting. If you have any questions, I don't know. You figured out a way to.
If you're listening, you're one viewer. Type 7-Eleven and we'll send you $1 on Venmo. In the next 3 seconds.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
We'll reset the counter.
Yeah.
1, 2. It's a fucking bot. All right. Later, everybody. See you next week, 8 p.m. Central.